We're joined in the workshop this week with a Phoenix Yellow FK8, but is it real or is it fake? With only 20 of the limited edition Civic Type R FK8s coming to market in the UK, they're extremely rare to come by, and when you do find one available, usually the prices exceed that of the new FL5 Civic Type R. However, this car, it has the looks, but without some of the price tag. The owner has had a wrap carried out on the car and it looks absolutely pristine. Some of you owners might be familiar with this car already, being on some of the Facebook pages, you may have had some interaction. But let's take a quick look around the car as things have changed since I saw it last. We previously supplied the Desmond wheels, but we know there's been a few more modifications carried out. Let's take a look. So last time I saw this car, we were at a Honda show and the owner had just bought the Mugen Lip from another owner. I then fitted it at the show, so it's good to see that it's still in place. Let's take a look under the bonnet. So quick look under the bonnet to see what we've got already. You can see that we've currently got a Eventuri carbon intake. We've got an APR or C-bond front cooling plate, password JDM Kevlar covers both sides, blitz strut bar, and then it's been dressed up with a few anodized bolts around the side. We've got a few of those to fit in the work that we're going to be doing today. But on initial impression, once we've opened the bonnet, you can see the original black paint from around the sides and the bottom of the bonnet. I think it looks pretty good. Some of the other supporting modifications that you can't quite see a lot of, Dream intercooler, and we've also got an HKS exhaust around the back. So that's the current state of the car at the moment. So let's take a look at the parts that we're going to be fitting today. First up, we've got the HKS blow-off valve kit along with the hard pipes. That'll be fitted up with one of our Dream throttle body hoses. Moving down, we've got a set of the Mugen wind deflectors, nice aerodynamic modification on the FK8s and really look the part. Funk Motorsport turbo blanket will be installed along with one of our oil drain pipe heat shields. Whilst we're in that area, we'll also be fitting one of our Dream downpipes. This is a used one that the owners picked up. And unfortunately had a couple of squash marks where somebody's grabbed it, but it's not going to affect the performance. That'll also be fitted up with some titanium bolts. And whilst we're working on the car, we're going to be touching on the brakes today. We've got a set of the Dream braided brake lines and some Motul fluid, but it doesn't quite look like we've got enough, so we're going to run upstairs and grab ourselves another bottle. Whilst we're in the engine bay and working around the boost pipe area, we've got good access to the Acuity cable bushes, so they'll get installed at the same time. We've also, I see in the parts that we're fitting today, is a boost solenoid repair harness. I'm not sure if the car's receiving a particular fault, but this could just be precautionary as we're then known to fatigue. Moving further down the line, we're going to be fitting one of the PracWorks inlet manifolds. It's a new product and we can't wait to see the results of how this performs. It's an absolute thing of beauty, so can't wait to get it out of the box and show you. The car will then be rounded off with a Flash Pro and Romain is back on Thursday for tuning, so he'll bring all of this together with a tune on our dyno. Talking of things of beauty, in the bag back here, we've got our first FL5 Eventuri intake. Stay tuned for next week where we'll be unboxing, fitting that to the car and seeing what sort of results we receive. So that's all the parts. Let's get the car on the ramp and we'll get started. So I've got a lot of the parts unboxed and back up on the bench now. We're going to have a little bit of a closer look around some of the parts that we're going to be fitting. One part that we've modified already is the HKS blow-off valve kit. We've moved the boss away from the end there, up the top here. That's just to clear the Eventuri. We have the option of that on the website when you purchase this. So if you are running Eventuri, that's something you're going to want to consider. Obviously a lot of the parts that we've been through already, but I'm looking forward to showing you this one. We've seen a lot about this online, images that have been released, a few power graphs, but we're intrigued to see what we're going to receive ourselves. Obviously, when we get to tuning with the downpipe, intercooler and intake, we're going to be shooting for 400 horsepower, and we'll see how easily that's achieved once we've got the new manifold in place. So if you look closely at it, you can see a lot of the attention to detail in the anodizing, the fixings that have been used, and the quality of the carbon. It looks a really good product, and I'm looking forward to getting it on the dyno and seeing, is this much benefit to a stock engine Civic Type R? So first up, it's just to get a box out of my way really, I'll get on with the Mugen wind deflectors. Simple fit, they stick on along the sides and a couple of clips, so we'll get this one done just to clear a bit of space. When fitting a set of deflectors, whether they're Mugen or the Honda ones, you'll notice along the clips they're labelled A, B, C, D, and that'll run from the front of the car to the back. But I'd suggest starting on the rear deflector first. Peel off both ends of the tape, and then on this end here, if you just flick that up and leave it curled over on the side, you can then set the gaps, both front and rear, on this deflector, and then follow suit on the front back. So first up, we're going to start a strip down. I'll get all the intake removed. I'll work around the intake system. So once the airbox is out, I'll get the boost pipes down the side here, the pipe going to the throttle body out the way, and then start working around the downpipe. So I'll get a full strip down done before I start fitting up any parts. Okay, so standard inlet manifold is now off the car. I've done sort of as much as I can around this top area on the inlet path, other than cracking off the bolts on the top of the downpipe. So I'll get that done, get the car up into the air, and then start working on the bottom side. So I've just finished the strip down. The car's got all the intake system off it now. So let's take a look at some of the parts side by side and see if we can see any differences. First up is going to be the downpipe. Obviously we've removed the standard cat. There's quite a lump there. And clearly with the two bricks with inside the cat, we've got some restriction. We're going to be fitting one of the D-cat downpipes. So it's completely clear all the way through. This one, as I mentioned before, it's lagged, so it has some heat management properties to it and going to keep down some temperatures in the engine bay area. Also, we're going to be fitting the Funk Motorsport turbo blanket. That's to replace the very light shell that was over the turbo already. So again, just helping with some heat management around the engine bay. Let's take a look over the boost pipes now. I've got them off the car. You can see that they're quite a soft, squishy rubber, and when demanding a lot of them under extreme conditions, high levels of boost, we could potentially see a bit of swelling in these hoses. So the principle behind the HKS hard boost pipe kit really is to help stabilise some of the boost when we've got a hose that cannot move and is going to deliver a consistent boost time and time again. This kit is going to be finished off with HKS blow-off valve, which will be mounted somewhere around this area here once we've got it back into the car. One of the smaller things that we're going to be upgrading today are the shift cable bushes. Now we're going to be removing the standard rubber Honda bushes and replacing with the Acuity bushes. They're more of a solid design and going to give us a lot more of a precise shift when changing gear. And finally, one that you've probably been waiting to see the most of is the PracWorks inlet manifold. You can see from the standard inlet manifold, it's quite a short, stubby design with the log at the bottom and a short inlet path into the inlet chamber. On the PracWorks, however, we've got a bigger log down the bottom and a longer inlet path into the cylinder head. Now this will definitely change the characteristics of the engine and the way that the power is delivered, so I'm really interested to see how this is going to perform. So that's the parts rundown now. I'm going to get on with the fitting in a second and I'm going to take my time over fitting this one. I haven't fitted one of the PracWorks manifolds before, and I know that I've got a little bit of piping to do around the back, and there is a bit of bracketry over the top of the standard manifold that I need to work out where it goes and how we then work around, making sure that we don't damage the top of the carbon manifold. That looks amazing in there. It's just a shame that we're going to end up covering a lot of it up with putting the wiring back into place, strut brace on, so you might just see a little glimmer of carbon through the gaps. So whilst I've been off camera, I've been carrying on with a few other parts on the car. I've got the Funk Motorsports turbo jacket fitted, along with the Dream downpipe. Whilst working on some of the other parts, I also fitted the Acuity shifter bushes. Got good access once the boost pipes are out now, so simple job, get them done, and I can move on to the next step. In fitting the downpipe, we were due to be upgrading the studs to the Rampage Fab titanium studs. Unfortunately, 2 of the studs started to bite just after 2 or 3 turns and started to pull the thread. So a quick phone call to the customer, we had a chat about what to do, whether to remove the studs or let them snap and then get them drilled out, or leave the standard studs in place, wind them back in and only use the new studs on the other 2 bolts. That's what we ended up going with. So we've saved having to take the turbo off the car for now, but there might be a new turbo further down the line. We don't know at the moment. So I've got a few more parts left to finish for today before we can get onto the dyno. I've got the boost pipes around this side with the dump valve, boost pipe around the other side, and that should get us ready for remain tomorrow. I'm going to leave the brake line fitting for today. We'll probably do that on Friday once we've finished on the dyno, as we covered that in many other videos. So if you haven't already, go back and check out some of those videos if you're interested in the brake lines. But for now, I'm going to crack on with the boost pipes. So all the boost pipes are finished up now. I've got the dump valve mounted into place, and the final little bit really is to finish off the plumbing over this side here. I've mounted the dump valve a little bit lower, changing part of the bracket that we're actually going to use on it, just to make room for the Eventuri and obviously the strut brace that's there back in place. I'll get this finished up and we'll catch back up tomorrow when the car's getting loaded onto the dyno, and we'll find out what Remain thinks of the new manifold.
So back at Dream today for this beautiful FK8, very, very nicely done. A lot of like little details. I love the engine bay. So spent about 2 hours, 3 hours tuning it. The main thing that's different compared to what we normally see is the inlet manifold, which is very nice, but you can't see it. So hopefully you'll be able to film it. But so managed to map it with a new inlet manifold, try to see what the main difference is. We haven't really done a before and after, as in same car, same day, because we didn't have the option. But from what I could see, the torque in the mid-range seems to be a bit stronger and get the torque at 4,500 RPM a bit more easily for the same amount of boost. The power at the top doesn't really seem to have made that much difference, but it's kind of like expected when pretty much we're not maxing out the turbo, but the turbo works fairly hard when you start touching 400 brake on them. And here at Dream, we don't really like to push over 400 foot-pound or 400 bhp anyway, because we've seen many issues from a lot of different other companies as well. It doesn't really matter how far you actually push it. When you keep it below that, we just find them so much more reliable. So that car is exactly this, basically 397 foot-pound, 392, 393 bhp, which is very strong. I'm very happy with the way the torque comes on, stays on for a bit longer than usual, potentially because of the inlet manifold, but it's a very smooth car. It was fairly easy to map. The consistency of the boost control, the charge percent that we can see through the map. Sometimes when we start pushing the turbo, we can see some instability with the MAF reading. That's not the case today. It's very good. Good power, good torque. So yeah, good all round, good result.
So tuning went really well with Romain yesterday, and even more so for the fact that we managed to get our sequential FK8 back on the dyno to work on some of the gear cut strategies. That's still going on, and we're going to be bringing you a video on that one really soon, so make sure you're subscribed. But for the time being, we've got the FK8 back on the ramp, and we're going to start working on the brake lines now before we take the car out for a road test. Obviously, I drive these cars day in, day out, so I know how each one, whether it's a standard car or a modified car, drives. But this one having the new manifold and the torque curve slightly changed from what we'd usually see, I'm interested to see how it's going to perform on the road. So the brake lines have been installed now and the system's all been bled out. I couldn't bring myself to bolt on dirty white wheels, so I've given them a good clean inside and out and get them back onto the car now so I can get myself out on road test. So we're nearing the end of the job now and our time here with the car at Dream. Last thing really is for me to road test the car and make sure that all the new modifications are transforming the car and delivering the new power that has been found. Hopefully I noticed some difference with the new manifold. I'd like to think so after it costing a fair bit of money, but time will tell and we'll get out on road test now. So initially, once we've got the car out on the road now, we need to clear off a few of the lights that are left on from the dyno. We've got traction control light, collision mitigation, some of the stuff that would have been generated from when the car's sitting still on the dyno but the front wheels are turning. So it'll take a few miles to get those cleared out before I can then put it into R+ mode and disable the traction control and really see if these power modifications come together nicely.
5 minutes later.
So all of our lights have now cleared and I can get it into R+ mode and then disable traction control, so we've got no interference into any of the engine restriction, any traction control, limiting of ignition timing. So let's go and see how it drives. Okay, so let's see how the car performs. So as we start to head back towards Dream now, quick summary of the car is clearly it handled great back there. All the dips and undulations in the road it was able to handle quite comfortably, as it's set up with I-back springs and white line anti-roll bars. In regards to the power, initially I thought that it felt a little bit laggy in the slower speed driving compared to a stock car or an equivalent car that we would then put similar bolt-ons on bar the manifold. But once we managed to get my foot down in the car, I can definitely tell, as with a lot of Remains maps, it is very progressive and linear towards the top end of the revs, where the car just continues to pull and pull and pull. I think if this car was set up with an MHI turbo and perhaps some fueling upgrades, it would gel together really well and be able to hunt for a few more horsepower. Of course, we would exceed the numbers of 400 horsepower and get into the territory of potentially bending rods. Now, clearly that's not something that owners are going to want to do to their cars, and hence the reason why we tune to 400 horsepower. As we know, that's a nice comfortable number where we can reliably produce results time and time again. But initially, nice little package and good all-rounder. Hope you enjoyed watching today's video. Remember, hit the like, share and subscribe button. Feel free to leave us a comment below. Join us next week when we've got a whole host of parts for fitting. It's our biggest order to hit the web shop ever. Car's here now, so we're going to get cracking. It's going to be a big one.